China has vowed unwavering support to the Hong Kong chief executive Carrie Lam. Lam met the Chinese premier in Beijing. Notably, this was her first visit to the Chinese capital since the pro-democracy camp's landslide victory in the city's local polls last month. In a recent press conference, Lam said that the purpose of her visit was to give a full account of what happened in Hong Kong. She said that the Chinese President Xi Jinping also hoped the people of Hong Kong would help the police achieve peace. Listen in.
The purpose of my duty report is, of course, to give our leaders a full account of what has happened in Hong Kong in the last 12 months. This year is a rather special one because in the last 6 months, Hong Kong has been haunted by this social unrest, disturbances, and violent acts. So I spent a bit more time to give them an account of where things stand. Xi Jinping also mentioned that he very much hoped that all sectors in Hong Kong society will join hands in order to achieve this objective of ending the violence and return Hong Kong to a normal situation. So that has also been my appeal over the last few months.
The Hong Kong police, meanwhile, said that the protesters were using peaceful gatherings to cover up violent acts. The statement comes a day after the police and protesters clashed, protesters smashing glass panes and blocking entrances at a mall. On Sunday, a group of masked protesters marched through several malls in Hong Kong. They chanted, "Fight for freedom and return justice to us." The police public relations chief said the constant clashes with the protesters had stretched the police resources and was a cause of concern.
History repeats itself. What began as public gatherings in shopping malls quickly turned into violent clash and mass destruction of properties. The truth speaks for itself. The so-called song singing or slow chanting were all covered up for the rioting act that followed. Actually, we are very concerned about the crime situation in Hong Kong. That's why we appeal to the public support to stop the violence, not to support those violent protests or rioting acts. Because all those criminal behavior, we need to spend a lot of manpower quite extensively to handle those incidents. And that's why we need to readjust our policing resources on the day-to-day policing. And we appeal to public support. Without public support, we won't be able to maintain a very low crime rate. I think all people in Hong Kong would like to see a safe city. We used to be a very safe city 6 months ago, but somehow we're facing a lot of challenges by those rioting acts and the violent protesters and unresponsible behavior.
And Laurel Chor, award-winning photographer, journalist and National Geographic explorer, is now joining us live from Hong Kong for the latest on this. And Laurel, thanks very much for talking to us. Now, it was speculated that Lam's talks with President Xi could yield fresh directives on the city's political crisis, including a possible maybe cabinet reshuffle. And President Xi did not, of course, go into the specifics, but he reiterated his support for Lam and did not sort of talk about her replacement.
That's right. He simply said the same thing he said many times over the last 6 months. He said he fully supported Lam. He praised her for the job that she's done, saying that she has risen to the challenges in Hong Kong. And he also reiterated his support for the police. So it's nothing new, really. He simply said that the PRC government stands fully behind the Hong Kong government and the police. And it kind of doesn't really show any sort of change or any sort of response to the protesters' demands. They also reiterated that Hong Kong needs to address its deep-rooted socioeconomic problems. Again, showing that they seem to think that the problems are rooted in economic issues or social issues without, again, addressing political reform, which is what the protesters have been asking for 6 months now.
Mm-hmm. And also, I mean, there have been fresh protests on Sunday. This is the 7th month of protests. There's, this is the first recession in a decade. Where is Hong Kong heading, and where are the negotiations, if at all, with the Hong Kong protesters?
Well, that's the thing. There haven't been any negotiation efforts with the protesters. It's unclear what's going to happen. The protests have sort of petered out in the last few weeks. though this weekend was the first time we saw tear gas in 2 weeks. So especially with the holidays coming up, things might calm down, but then things might pick up again for big dates. I think the protesters are quite tired. Everyone's tired. No one can really sustain this momentum for that long, but at the same time, they are angry and their demands are not being responded to. So I think there will still be protests. It's just a matter of whether the intensity and regularity will continue, which is to be seen.
Absolutely. Well, Laurel, thanks very much indeed for joining us and sharing your thoughts on what's exactly happening in Hong Kong, and of course with that Carrie Lam visit to mainland China as well, to Beijing. Thanks for that.